I'm Megan Fox with Storytime Digital Media. We're here today on Oak Park Avenue in the Legacy District of Tinley Park. And we're in an abandoned parking lot here, and we're wondering why the planning department is doing what they're doing by turning down businesses and making it so difficult to open up something on Oak Park Avenue. The citizens of Tinley Park want to know, why is there no Starbucks? This street could support a Starbucks, but instead what we have are empty, broken down parking lots with potholes that you could fall into and never be heard from again. Why is the planning department doing this to Tinley Park? And the citizens deserve an answer. Businesses along Oak Park Avenue have been shuttered for years, and people want to know why. Why hasn't the village taken the time to entice people to either rehab these buildings or bring new businesses to knock them down and rebuild from the ground up? Citizens are tired of seeing empty storefronts littering Oak Park Avenue and their downtown area. They're ready for a change, and change is coming. I sat down with longtime Tinley resident Gabriel Garcia from Ideal Designs, an architect who once had his business in Tinley Park, but was forced to move to Frankfurt when it became too difficult to do business in Tinley Park. Garcia recounted his first meeting with Amy Connolly, village planning director, and it was less than the welcome he had hoped for.
My business was in Tinley. Now, this was my welcoming committee. I'd call her and I'd say, I just moved in town, or moved my office in town. I've always lived in Tinley. And I got a couple questions on some residential. She answered the questions, hung up with her. 10 minutes later, she calls me back. This was in '09. Do you know you don't have a business license? And I was like, whoa. She came out real strong. And she goes, do you know you could be cited so many dollars a fine a day? You need to come down here and get your business license. I was like, whoa, what kind of welcoming committee? I said, first of all, we're licensed through the state. Okay, we're an architectural firm, and we're licensed through the state. We do not need a business license. It'd be like an attorney or like an accountant. We don't have a business license to do business like that. We're a professional business. Well, I'll let you know about that. And then she called back. No, another gentleman called at the time. And he said, no, you're good. Everything's fine. But the way she came about it, it's like, you can get fined. And it was like, I just ran a check like she caught me. I just checked. You don't have a business license. And I told her I just moved in a week ago. And yeah, right away she called around. I was like, wow. And then I had to deal with her. Then I thought, maybe it's me. Or maybe it's just, her and I, or she doesn't like me or something, because I'm getting nowhere with her.
But throughout Tinley Park, citizens are really upset that there haven't been any new big grocery stores or development in that way. There's been a lot of rental units, but no businesses.
Right.
So
right.
What can you tell me about it?
Well, I work with certain contractors with the Tinley Park contractors, developers that always wanted to develop something in Tinley. It seems like the door always gets shut in our face every time we would go in there or propose a new development. They're very hard to work with. They would pretty much shut down everything we would draw up. Like, for instance, I was working with Mac Industries. And they bought the corner of 159th and Oak Park. And it was the old Aurelio's there, Aurelio's.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
We even notified the laundromat that we were going to demolish the place. I went in there with many different layouts. And she kept changing things around, not making the project feasible.
Who were you working with in the village? Is it Amy Connolly?
Amy Connolly. Amy Connolly is the only one I've ever worked with out there.
Okay.
And the developer also went in there quite a few times. I mean, this is what's there now.
Right.
And we were going to put a strip mall and a drive-through restaurant. Now, not always can we comply with the parking. It's always an issue. But we had shared parking areas that we got permission from Aurelio's. She says, you don't have enough parking. 9 spaces.
So there was a difference between 39
Right.
spaces was required. You had 30 spaces.
Yeah.
But Aurelio's also,
What
on top of that, would share some of theirs with you?
a shared agreement. Aurelio's kind of nighttime kind of business,
Yes.
and these are kind
Right,
of daytime.
daytime.
Right.
What do you know besides a restaurant? What else was planning on being in here? A
there were-
Starbucks? Is that a Starbucks?
They were attempting. They were soliciting. They went to Vegas and were soliciting.
Do you know how many people
Yeah.
have come up to me and said,
Yeah.
"Why isn't there a Starbucks on Oak Park Avenue?"
Right.
Amy Connolly
Right.
was asked that by members of the community many times, and she said to them, "You have champagne taste on a bologna budget."
That's
what she told them.
Oh, jeez.
So it was as if
jeez.
it was never a possibility to have a Starbucks, in her opinion.
They even went to Vegas, and there's some kind of shows that they go to, the developers, and I gave them all kinds of neat drawings.
That's really good, though.
Yeah.
Here's one that says Starbucks.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Fields.
And Verizon.
And the
Yeah.
Subway. And
Right.
and
They
the
were
Sprint
soliciting to these guys, and they went to Vegas.
Store. And this looks so junky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look
and
at
that
that.
corner. It's been like that for 30 years. This is killing Aurelio's, because it's
Right, it's
look
not
at
bringing
that.
in traffic.
Right, and that's a very good corner.
It's a fantastic corner.
fantastic corner.
Tons of traffic.
159th, Route 6, and Oak Park. That draws you in.
Right. So what killed the deal?
Here's what killed the deal. She wanted us, which, I could understand, but not here. She wanted us to put this right up to the corner, and right up to the corner, like have an L shape. But the only way we would be able to enter is from the rear. Now that works in your downtown areas, having that storefront
Sure.
kind of look where people
Sure.
walk, on the sidewalk and they enter. But in this case, it does not work because what's happening is this street's too busy. You want to pull away from it, just like every other business down 159th. But the tenants do not like that because then they have to deal with two entrances, and they're paying for all the square footage for they're leasing that square footage, and they got to handle two entrances, which no one's going to come in the front. No one's going to walk down 159th and come in and have everything in the back. So it's
Right.
not desirable for the tenants.
Right.
And Mac said, "You know what? I'm done. You guys just look at this. You guys could keep looking at that." So then he started leasing these out to very cheap, just
Does
to
he
fill the
still
space.
own this property?
Yes, he does.
Okay, let's say that
Yeah.
tomorrow we could snap our fingers and he could build this exactly the way he wanted to in the beginning. Do you think he would still do it?
Yes, he bought it for that reason. He didn't think they would object to a nice development. And
Who the
believe
heck
me,
would
I could
object
give
to
you.
this?
But we had landscaping. This one's not good. My partner did this one. I did a
But it
much
just
better
looks like
one.
a quick
Yeah,
mock-up.
yeah.
But it still looks 1,000 times better
Than that.
than this.
Correct.
There's no comparison here.
Right. And this building's empty because, who would want to rent it?
Right, it looks like junk.
Right. Where this
Would
was
have been a brand
wrapping.
new, beautiful building. So
Right.
tell me something. Does Mac Industries, are they the ones that go to Vegas to these conferences to
Yeah.
find businesses to come into these developments?
Yeah, they bring all their drawings and try to draw in the big corporations, to draw in, like these guys, the Subways,
Sure.
the big companies, and, then they hand it
So
out
this
to
Mac
their
Industries
franchises.
This person, the Mac Industries kind of developer, that's the kind of guy you want
Oh, yeah. Yes,
buying
you do.
property in your town to if you want that commercial revenue.
Correct. And see, the Mac went in there. He bought the corner, the Always Open. That place was.
Yeah, he owns
He
that
bought.
too.
He bought that corner. He worked with a different architectural firm. He worked with the Linden Group, and they got. And Linden Group's a very prestigious architectural firm. They do excellent work, and they got shut down 4 times. I'm not familiar what took place there, But then Jim said, I'm just going to perfume it up, which he did, and leave it. So it was like, wow, he had big plans for that.
So something happened there too.
Something happened there because Linen Group doesn't get rejected. They're big firm. And
Wait, it sounds like
times.
he's had bad luck in Tinley Park.
So he bought that corner. This all got bought at the same time. Then he tried to develop between Always Open and the school.
Oh, right.
He owns that space.
Okay.
And this all took place in 2014. And we tried to get residential in there, and she shut us down, and she told us about the concept of their conceptual of
This is Amy again.
Amy. Oh yeah, always Amy. And
She shut you down now. This is for residential between the Always Open and Central Middle School.
correct.
Okay.
And that was, she shut us down, which we always got to go in there. You know, we didn't want the commercial because all the businesses were boarded up at the time, during the recession. So then we gave her commercial in the front, the way they wanted on Oak
The way
Park.
they want on the first floor, commercial required on
Yeah.
the first floor.
On the
Street
first
level.
floor. But then the back of it, which is so deep, it's a real shallow parcel.
Uh-huh.
We said, okay, we can give you the commercial up front, and then the back would be all residential, which creates a good buffer between your schools and your businesses. You don't want a business right next to a school, and you don't want, it creates a buffer zone. And she denied that. She said, I want no residential whatsoever on the first floor. Then Jim Mack says, well, try this. Raise the townhomes and make the first floor parking garage for the residential. Now we meet the code. We're no longer residential on the first floor, and then we put the 3 stories tall above it and the parking garage underneath. Therefore, there's no residential on the main level. And we gave her commercial, but it didn't come in feasible at all because of the parking garage.
Maybe because
was
of
too
cost.
expensive. Yeah.
But it seems to me that putting the residential in the back, if the property's very deep, and the
deep.
commercial in the front would meet what they wanted.
Correct. Well,
Do you know
Because-
if that
yeah,
went
it
before the
would've.
board? Did it ever get to the board for approval?
nothing. She shuts you down right there. It
Did
doesn't
she
get
ever go to anyone else? Did you hear from David Niemeyer, the village manager?
No.
Anybody else?
No.
Ivan Baker? Paul
No.
Walrich? So no one else, she never went to anyone to find out, is
No.
this okay with the board?
No. It was always.
Did you go to the planning commission?
No. See, rule of thumb, if you don't get
Just
past
pass.
her, if you don't have her vote, see, the plan commission's 50%. But if you don't have her vote, then why proceed? Because then you gotta spend all this money on drawings, you have to spend, you gotta get an attorney, so why pursue it?
Now, does it surprise you that Amy bent over backwards for this developer from Ohio, not a local developer, to change the code, to make it fit?
Oh, she definitely did. She would shut us down on everything whenever it came to not her way of having that commercial, and she was
So you-
negative toward the residential, that's for sure.
Negative toward the residential.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes,
So,
very negative.
so
And
did
at the
you ever
time-
have any positive encounters with her with
No.
building projects?
No, I could keep going.
Oh, please do.
Look at the Olympic star. Okay, that was my first encounters with Amy. The Olympic star, he purchased the restaurant from his 2 partners. They've owned it since 1973. And what he did, they were kind of letting the place run down. So he wanted to buy his partners out and get his place fixed up. So he invested his whole life savings, bought the 2 partners out. So now he's ready to do a renovation. So he came to contact me and help me out with my renovation. I want to fix it up. So Tinley Park, right away told him that that it's changing owners. And when a business changes owners, which is the most ridiculous thing I heard, you have to bring the whole place up to code.
Yep, I've heard of this.
And there's no way he's going to rip out his restaurants, shut them down for a year, and we're talking $300,000 to bring it up to code. Mm-hmm. It was built to code back in 1973.
Right.
And I
But
told
now all
Amy,
the codes have changed, right?
and I threatened Amy, I said, you are going to get a lawsuit because he was the original owner. Why are you giving this guy a hard
Right.
time? He could barely speak English. I said, why are you giving him a hard time? He's still the original owner, and he wants to make improvements. He wants to put 150 grand into the place, but not 300 to bring it into code. She goes, that's our rules and all this and all that. Then she finally backed off when I told her. I said, well, I'm just going to advise him to seek legal counsel because this is ridiculous. He still is the owner. He's not changing the name of the restaurant, the corporation, to get rid of the other two partners. He's making improvements and you're hammering them down.
Right.
And he was going to, he didn't know what to do. But that got resolved.
It did.
Yeah. His next phase is he's seen what I did with the fire department here in Orland, which is a very easy community to work with. They come to me. That's a shame that they, when they need stuff, so they have this
Orland is very easy to work with in comparison to Tinley Park.
All communities, they invite you. They roll out the red carpet because architects and developers, we bring developers into their community.
Have you ever run into a village that treated developers like Tinley Park has treated you guys?
No, not at all. When I went to New Lenox not too long ago, I went there with the meeting, and it's informal, but they brought all the department heads. There must have been 8 department heads. Building department, zoning, engineering, fire department, land planning. I was like, wow, that was impressive because they all give you their input.
Right away.
They're all right there on the spot, and it's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So you're going there, not formal, informal, and they're all helping you. Like, instead of doing a daycare, why don't you do this? We have a couple clients looking for this type of business. We're looking for, they're there to help you, no matter what you're trying to accomplish.
But Tinley seems to do the opposite.
Oh, it's their way or the highway, right off the bat. You can't get in the front door. So we never got past her. And then the Olympic Star, I designed a strip mall. Now, this is the Olympic Star. They've been in Tinley since 1973,
right.
Paying taxes, everything. He's got an empty parcel, and we were going to put commercial in front and residential in the back. Once again, residential,
right.
You want it buried in the back. You don't want commercial.
Right.
She said she wanted it all commercial. We're like, that's not going to work. Everything is, whatever's not facing 171st.
Can't be
It's
commercial.
We'll put residential just to
No one would
make
see
it
it.
feasible. Right, nobody would see it.
No one would see it.
Right.
So what would the purpose be of putting commercial
Right.
behind a building?
Right, and that's all residential. It creates a nice buffer between
Of course.
single family, multifamily, then your commercial.
Right.
It's a great buffer because single family, they don't want business next to them.
Right.
So you go single family to multi, then to business in the busy street.
Right.
That's the way it normally works.
Right.
And she shut us down. That's the owner of the owner of Olympic Star.
So what's in that parcel
She
now?
shut us nothing.
Still nothing.
So he wants to use it as parking because he owns it.
Sure.
She said no.
What?
No way. And his employees were parking there and they all got ticketed. He can't park on his own property to service his own restaurant. And that was all Amy's doing because we were in there. Can we use it as parking? Can we do this? Can we do that? No, no, no.
So basically it sounds like we've identified several now landowners in Tinley Park who are holding on to pieces of property that they can't do anything with.
Right.
Because Amy Connolly
Right.
won't let them do anything with it that they want to do. And so they're just hanging on to it we've all been wondering, what is going on in Tinley Park, and why are these buildings all shuttered, and why are there empty buildings all over the place, and potholes, and nobody's fixing, and parking lots that have been sitting empty for 20 years.
Right.
And now it's coming out that these stories are starting to come out from a lot of different places. It's maddening for people who have, they bought a house in Tinley Park expecting to have a thriving commercial business district. And they're just saying no. It just...
Right. And flat out no. I mean, they're not open to anything.
Not trying to work with you or...
Right. And I'm a resident of Tinley. My business was in Tinley.
This is going to be a bombshell for people because they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Amy Connolly is not sending out flyers saying, here are the businesses I turned down this month.
No. And there's more, too.
Now that Amy Connolly is gone, we're still getting reports that planning employees are turning down businesses on Oak Park Avenue. Paula Walrich, Ivan Baker, David Niemeyer. These people need to answer for why this street is in the disrepair that it's in. Look at the traffic on Oak Park Avenue. This clearly could support a Starbucks, an anchor tenant, some kind of commercial business that people in Tinley Park really want. I know people have told me in Tinley Park that they have been after a Starbucks for a very long time, and they were told by planning director Amy Connolly that they had champagne taste on a bologna budget. It doesn't make any sense why Oak Park Avenue in this lovely downtown area has been allowed to become such an eyesore, and so many buildings are sitting empty. The citizens of Tinley Park deserve better. They certainly pay enough taxes. They certainly are paying for it, and that's what they should be getting. I'm Megan Fox reporting from Tinley Park.